Welcome to Roll, Ponder, and Play, a podcast dedicated to crafting stories through the application of role-playing game engines, combined with creative thinking and propelled into the ether by the barest of prompts. I'm Jared Hess, taking on all the roles of game master, solo player, author, and narrator. Come with me on a journey, and together let us explore realms of shadow, danger, and wonder. One role can decide the fate of many things. Welcome to episode 16 of the Queen of Shadows podcast on Roll, Ponder, and Play. I'm Jared Hess, your friendly neighborhood game master, solo player, author, and narrator. In our previous episode, at the zenith of her despair, Eilwen draws strength by feeding her anger at those who would slay the innocent for their nefarious and dark magics. She and Aron and Kyffin manage to barely escape from Edris's clutches and those of his leather-winged minions by fleeing through a rusty trapdoor near their feet and nearly falling down a metal ladder into the dark, subterranean depths beneath the ruined tower. Eilwen bars the trapdoor with Kyffin's spear, and they discover in the chambers beneath that Edris has been using foul magics to create aberrations. They suspect that one such abomination is what killed and drained the blood from the shriveled humanoid corpse they saw on the surface. Eilwen takes Edris's research, some yellowed parchments with diagrams, symbols, and an old book, and they flee into the tunnels. They discover that while it is warmer beneath the mountain of rock overhead, a labyrinthine network of tunnels awaits them. As we begin this episode, Eilwen's stats are Edge 2, Heart 1, Iron 1, Shadow 3, Wits 2. Current assets: Archer, initial box; Cutthroat, initial box; Shadow Walk, initial box; Duelist, initial box. Current statuses: Supply 5 out of 5, Spirit 0 out of 5, Health 3 out of 5, Momentum 10 out of 10. Current debilities: Shaken. Current unspent XP 0. A word on Eilwen's Shaken debility. The astute among you will likely notice that last episode I actually got a weak hit on Eilwen's Endure Stress move instead of a miss, but I treated it as a miss. However, I didn't discover this until I recorded this episode much later, and by then the story had moved on with that debility in place. As I've said before, I will make no retroactive fixes when I come across a mistake, even though I do wonder how the story might have changed had a correction been made and a branching storyline and parallel universe been brought about. Alas, but we shall never know. And this is by no means the last time I will make such a mistake. It is a reflection of the human element in the process of using this solo roleplay medium to create and share stories. Hopefully, it'll just make her recovery all the more impressive, assuming she can pull that off. And now, on to episode 16 of Queen of Shadows. Eilwen's torch flared as she held it higher, and a draft of wind caught it. She peered left, and then right, and then straight ahead. Which way to go? She didn't know. There was no telling direction at these depths, at the roots of the mountain, where stone and darkness coalesced, melding into a uniform shadow of despair and death, where the only sounds were their own breathing and the dripping of melting snow in the profound deepness of the earth. Aron stood beside her, and Kyffin brought up the rear. The thin man from Rock River had taken Aron's spear, and he peered behind them into the flickering gloom. "We'd best be getting a move on, lass," Kyffin said. "If that creature is after us, well, it'd be good to put as much space between us and it." That creature Edris. Who was he? What was he? And how did he survive up here in the cold, snow-locked heights of the mountains all these decades? What did he eat? His own hatred and loathing for all that lived? Or did he lie in wait like a loathsome spider, thirsty for whatever traveler happened into his tower for shelter? Maybe she didn't want to know. Kyffin was right. They had to move. "Eilwen?" Aron asked. Eilwen closed her eyes for a moment, took a breath, centered herself, listened to her intuition. She took the right passageway. Okay, this is Delve the Depths plus Wits. I rolled a 4 on the action dice, plus 2 for her wits, against a 9 and a 9 on the challenge dice for a miss with a horrible match. No. Too many matching 9s. Okay, no more. I'm using my 10 momentum to cancel both those. 2 negative matches in a row is not good, and we must make some progress. That might not be the wisest of choices to burn the momentum, but we shall see. Her momentum resets to 1 out of 10. Usually momentum resets to 2, but this time she starts at 1 momentum because of her shaken ability. But at least progress on the delve is now 2 out of 10. And we turned the negative match into a positive match. They traveled for what felt like a few hours through rubble-choked halls. Okay, for Find an Opportunity, momentum goes up. It is now 2 out of 10. I rolled a 9. The terrain favors you, or you find a hidden path. They found a side passageway to the left. It had less rubble in it, and she felt a faint breeze caress her face. "This way." They passed a large rectangular room with tall pillars worked in exquisite stone that rose up to a vaulted ceiling. Each pillar formed into a regal statue, showing either forgotten gods or heroes or both. "Who are they?" Aron asked in awe. "I don't know," she answered in wonder. As they moved under one, they looked up and saw deep cracks running through the stunning work of art, as if the weight of the mountain above them were slowly crushing it upon the anvil of time and gravity. In a couple of places, the ceiling had fallen in, revealing pale daylight, and they could hear the gale blowing above. Snow fell and swirled down into those holes, onto huge boulders. Some of the boulders were from a collapsed statue. They all clambered over an ancient torso and head that had fallen and nearly blocked their way. On the other side of the large chamber, they found a staircase that wound up and then a wide passage that moved in a straight direction, like some major thoroughfare. "From these passageways," Kyffin said, "I think a large keep or city used to be here, but not made by humans. That madman mentioned elves. I've not seen one myself. Have either of you?" Eilwen shook her head and saw her brother do the same. "I wonder if they made this place," Kyffin mused, holding his torch before him. Before Edris caused them to flee." "They were wise to flee," Eilwen said darkly. Aron nodded. "Do you think Edris caused this destruction?" Aron said, noting a large, collapsed room off to their right. "He and his kind cause only destruction," she responded in a low, angry voice. They continued on in silence. Okay, this is Delve the Depths, plus 2 for wits again, plus 1 for the strong hit from before. I rolled a 6 on the action dice, plus 3 for a 9 against a 2 and a 4 on the challenge dice for another strong hit. Yes! Progress on the delve is now 3 out of 10. And I find an opportunity. So using the find an opportunity move, I rolled a 33. an aspect of history or nature of this place is revealed. And of course my momentum is now 3 out of 10. Did the elves build this place? I'll say it's likely, because the figure they faced, Edris, hinted at such a thing, and the oracle agrees with me on a roll of a 6 and says yes. More hours passed. They walked along a ruined mural on an arch above the thoroughfare. The arch had fallen in and the stones lay scattered around them. Fine scrollwork mixed with artistry of twisting vines and elegant runes were carved into the stone of the remaining archway. They could not understand the writing, but it was similar in design to the artistry they had found on the corpse's wooden mask they had seen a few days back. "Eilwen, we need to rest," Aron said. "This seems as good a place as any." She nodded and sagged down onto a stone, setting her pack down. There wasn't any wood to burn, so they ate old dried meat and hard bread and let their torches burn out, and then settled in to sleep. "Wake me when it's my watch," Eilwen said. All right, well, just letting you know, I rolled some things, but in order to keep the tension, I'm not revealing them at the moment. Eilwen struggled to stay awake in the pitch black that surrounded her. She also couldn't tell how much time had passed. Kyffin had awakened her some time ago, hadn't he? Had it been 1 hour or 4? How could you tell when the bowels of the earth permitted no light, no stars, no promise of dawn? She was tempted to light a torch, if only to judge the passage of time. Her jaws creaked and she gave a massive yawn. She sat with her back to a boulder, hugging her knees and her arms, and thought about the previous day's events. She felt in the dark for her nearby pack and pulled out the wrapped wyvern egg. She thought she had heard a tapping sound. Her egg, she thought excitedly. She ran her hands over the smooth surface, but she couldn't feel any flaking shell. She heard the tapping again and put the heavy egg to her ear. And no, the sound wasn't coming from the egg. Her hand went to her weapons belt, where she wore her sword and daggers. Was something out there? Her mind projected imagined monsters moving in the dark. Maybe it was nothing more than a rat. She rested her hand on the pommel of her sword as she crawled over to Aron. She knelt and shook him awake. He started, tensed, and his hand jerked for his belt knife. "Easy," she whispered into his ear. "It's me, Eilwen." He calmed and sat up. "What time is it?" "No way to tell, but it's your watch. I can't keep my eyes open. She hesitated and listened to the darkness. She could sense her eyes stretching as if her pupils could pull in light from nowhere. "What is it?" Aron asked, sensing her unease and grabbing her arm. "Light a torch. I'll wake Kyffin. I think something might be out there. It might be nothing, but..." Aron quickly pulled over his pack and began rummaging through it, and she started to crawl over to Kyffin. Halfway to where she thought he might be, there came a sudden scratching sound and a crack of stone on stone to her right. It sounded close. "Aron!" she shouted, the hairs on her arms standing, and she spun in the direction of the noise and dropped into a crouch. The noise grew louder, as if something large were shoving rocks aside or climbing over them. "Kyffin! Awake!" she shouted, and had her knife out. "Aron, the torch!" A flicker of sparks flared in the night black of the subterranean network, and in that brief burst of light, she saw it. Sparks flickered and then went out. In that brief flare-up of orange, she caught a glimpse of a horrific monstrosity. She didn't get a good look. A black shell with a sheen, massive bug-like legs, and dozens of long, writhing tentacles. Her heart hammered, like it was pounding out an iron blade all on its own. "Heralds beneath," she whispered the curse and sucked in an involuntary breath at the flickered vision from the nights beneath. Okay, I'm ruling that she needs to roll a face danger against heart to not lose her courage in this crucial moment. I rolled a 6 on the action dice, plus 1 for her heart, against 1 and a 4 on the challenge dice for a strong hit. I get plus 1 momentum. Momentum is now 4 out of 10. Okay, and now I'll reveal what I rolled up before. I had rolled a make camp roll, plus our supply of 5, plus the plus 1 bonus from the Delve the Depths strong hit before that, for an impressive plus 6 modifier. Unfortunately, I rolled a 1 on the action dice, and again I rolled 2 9s on the challenge dice for a miss. Double 9s again, negative match. It comes. The beast in the night is here. Does it come during her watch? I think there's a 50-50 chance. I roll a 6 and get a yes, but... Yes, but just as she's finishing and waking Aron. Can they hear sounds from the storm outside? I think it's somewhat unlikely at this location, and they get a no. Does Aron get the torch lit before the thing attacks? 50-50 chance. On a 5, the oracle says no, but... No, but he's close. Then darkness reigned, and she heard it move. She turned and ran to where she had last seen her bow. "The torch!" she screamed as she stumbled over a rock and skidded into her equipment. With trembling hands she felt the cold ground. Where was it? Where? Then the wood of her bow, the leather of her quiver strap. Quickly she grabbed her bow and quiver, frantically shouting to her brother, "Aron, the torch!" Almost there," Aron's voice echoed back, and more flickering sparks flared out. Kyffin had his spear in his hands, and he shouted in surprise and horror. "Now, Aron!" she shouted again. More sparks. The torch finally flared to life. But sometimes darkness is preferable to the vision of truth that assaults the senses. "The gods help us," Aron breathed as he stumbled back, torch in his right hand. Atop the fallen stones above them, the massive creature lurked, perched on 100 legs, each a dark spear of jagged death. It had a huge head. The size of that alone exceeded a large horse's bulk. A dark maw filled with razor-sharp teeth open wide, each tooth a dagger of death. A strand of dark slime-like saliva oozed off of them. Large pupils constricted in the sudden torchlight, and Eilwen saw her face reflected in the twin orbs of night. Her mind reeled. It was as if a herald of the night stood before them, like one of the demon-kin themselves that had stepped out of the rift in the storm and assaulted their ancestors of old. Creatures of tooth, claw, and wicked maw that left forefathers bereft of fair hope. They were in no condition to fight this. They must flee again. The tentacles weaved in the air as if sensing them. Then, in a sudden scuttle of many legs that caused large rocks to shift and collide into each other, in a groaning, cracking rush of earth and monster, the aberration charged down at them. "Here it comes," Aron said. He had his shield in place on his left arm, held the torch in his right. "We can't fight this." He started backing away. "We must flee," Eilwen said. "Kyffin, gather your supplies. Run in the direction we've been going. Go, we'll follow." Okay, this is face danger plus edge to use their quickness to dodge in, get their stuff, and flee. I rolled a 4 on the action dice, plus 2 for her edge is a 6 against a 9 and another 9 on the challenge dice for yet another double 9s and another negative match. What is up with these 9s? This is not going to be good. Kyffin nodded, only too happy to get away from the monstrosity. He quickly gathered his supplies and then ran into the darkness. But the thing sensed Kyffin dart away, and like a cat chasing a doomed rodent, it pushed past Eilwen, Many spear-like legs jabbing into the ground, it moved with a speed that belied its size and chased after the fleeing man. Its massive, chitinous bulk brushed her and Aron. Aron swung at it, connecting, but the torch did nothing, only emitted a shower of sparks, the color of gold tinged in blood, as it bounced off the hard shell. "Kyffin!" Aron shouted, following after the man. Eilwen darted and scooped up her own pack and Aron's and caught up to her brother. "Kyffin!" Aron shouted again. "Behind you!" She passed her pack to Aron, and he tossed it over his shoulders as she did the same with her pack, and they chased after the creature that scuttled after Kyffin, barely keeping Kyffin and the monstrous bulk that heaved after him within their torchlight. It bore down onto Kyffin. Kyffin screamed, suddenly turned, and bravely crouched, trying to plant the butt of his spear on the stone floor, much as one would do at a charging boar or war mount. But this was no mere hoofed animal of horseflesh, no mere boar bent on destruction. This thing, this massive and cruel monstrosity, ran into him, over him, slamming him to the ground, snapping his spear. Then the bulk moved over him. Kyffin screamed again and covered his head with his arms. For a moment he was lost in a churning sea of spear-sharp legs. Okay, the thing catching and injuring Kyffin was the twist from those latest matching 9s. I rolled on Kyffin's damage using RPG Solo's damage roller, and I gave it a +5 modifier since it's a big critter. And of course, with a total of 19, the result is not good for poor Kyffin. He gets a critical injury, requires immediate attention, clearly life-threatening, if not immediately deadly. Alas for Kyffin, I fear he's not long for this world. We shall see. Eilwen saw one of the monster's legs pierce Kyffin's thigh like a spear. He screamed and fell, gripping at the wound as blood spurted from a gouged leg, a severed artery. Her heart sank. No, she breathed, and she knew that Kyffin wasn't running anywhere. Not with that wound, not without help, and without help he would soon bleed out. Aron looked at her, and they both saw the truth of the situation. If they left now, the thing would probably finish off Kyffin, giving them a fighting chance to get out of here alive. But if they stayed, it very well might mean their end, their complete and utter end. Was this then Eilwen's fate? For her journey to end here in these dark caves, fated to die in these depths, her vow undone before it had barely even begun? The creature spun around, legs clattering, a cacophony of tapping sounds stuttering on the stones. Its twin eyes regarded Kyffin, the tentacles weaving about their companion as if in anxious anticipation. A part of her told her to run. No one would blame her. Aron would in fact praise her for thinking like a night-blinded monarch. "Lass, just go!" Kyffin shouted. Leave me!" With one hand he tried to staunch the flow of blood, but all in vain. His other hand reached for his weapons belt, and he yanked out a gleaming knife. Aron held his shield and a torch. Eilwen her bow, she fitted an arrow. Aron stepped in front of her. "Eilwen," Aron said, shaking his head, sadness etched on his visage. "Out of my way," she muttered. "You'll die." "And if I don't try to help him, I'd forever wish I had," she whispered. "Now move aside. We have to try." His sad eyes continued to stare into hers. "I'll distract it," Eilwen continued. "Bring it towards me. You then go for Kyffin and help him. I'll lead it away, then we can meet up and—" "No." Aron shook his head slowly. I think this requires a compel move from Eilwen. Aron firmly believes they should not do this. This is a compel plus heart. She will get +1 from her heart, +1 for her bond, with a total modifier of +2. And I rolled a 3 on the action dice. +2 is a 5 against a 9. Yay, a 9. And a 7. A clear miss. She must pay the price, and I have an idea of what that might entail. Eilwen, Aron said. He's a dead man already. The thing circled around Kyffin, toying with him, darting in, then stopping, circling again, darting again, backing away. Finally, the upper half of its body rose up, dark as death, as if it were a viper preparing to strike. "Do as I say," she commanded, frantic. Kyffin still shouted, his words undergirded with pain and weariness. "Go! Run, Eilwen! Flee while you can!" Aron frowned and again shook his head. "Fine, I'll do it myself." She shoved past him, started to move towards Kyffin, raising her bow. She heard Aron sigh, and then she felt his strong arms, quick as a snake, pin her in a quick warrior's move, trapping arms and bow. His left arm still holding his shield, his right had dropped its torch, and it flickered on the ground in front of them. "Aron, what? Let me go," she struggled. I'm sorry, he whispered into her ear as he yanked her backwards. It's for your own good. It's for our own good. It's for the good of the Ironlands." His torch sputtered on the ground, a wan bubble of yellow flickering as she flailed against his strong grip. He continued to pull her away from the light into the dark, walking backwards. They heard 100 clicks on stone, and they saw the massive bulk shiver above Kyffin. The torchlight gradually receded as he continued to pull her back. She grunted, tried to wrest free, but it was no use. He was stronger. "Aron, what are you? Let me go. I must..." "I'm sorry," he groaned. "Let me go," she screamed. "Kyffin, She felt wetness on her cheek, where his face pressed against hers. She felt his warm breath on her cheek. "You are my sister. I cannot lose you. Please don't fight me, Eilwen. I need you. I'm sorry." In the flickering of the dying torchlight, they saw a dozen tentacles dart down, each as quick as an adder, pierce Kyffin's body. Kyffin gave a ragged, gurgling scream of pure, wrenching agony. Eilwen stiffened at the horrific attack and the resulting cry of jagged pain. "I'm sorry," Aron said again. When Kyffin's cries were no more, and all they heard was an awful, distant, slurping sound, she sagged in Aron's arms and wept as a child, and she let him carry her away. And that, my fair readers, or listeners, is how quickly things can turn in Ironsworn. I think the end of this scene underscores her emotional state of 0 out of 5 spirit and her shaken condition. You get that sense that she is certainly on the edge and about to crumble. Much like a good Call of Cthulhu game, I believe there are some horrors you should probably just run from. Too bad they weren't all able to get away, but the dice have spoken, and the party has suffered a true blow at such a loss. Now we need another red shirt to throw to the wolves. Just kidding. They will miss Kyffin. We'll see how Eilwen and Aron's relationship evolves after this, assuming they survive the ordeal of these mountains. Thank you for joining us, and I sincerely hope you enjoyed what you experienced. If you would like to support Roll, Ponder, and Play, you can do so in a number of ways. You can give the show a positive review on your podcatcher of choice. You can share the show with your friends and family and on your socials. Nothing beats word of mouth as a way to bring in new listeners. You can join my Patreon at patreon.com/rollponderandplay. There you can find show notes and transcripts, as well as other projects I'm involved in. And paid subscribers get access to subscriber-only episodes, shows, and other content. Finally, you can simply reach out to me and say hello. Comments from you are what inspire me to keep doing this, and I'd sincerely love to hear what you think of the show. To do so, you can find me on my Patreon, or on Discord at Roll, Ponder, and Play, or by email at rollponderandplay@gmail.com. Until we meet again on Roll, Ponder, and Play, may your own dice rolls ever bring you success.